Let's talk some toys in here.
Hey, what's up everyone? Today it's the Man Child. Okay, so today for review, gonna go over the Master Universe Origins Mer-Man figure. It's part of the Origins cartoon collection, and it's part of Series 2, or Wave 2. So yeah, finally got Mer-Man in hand. I was looking forward to him the most, I think. So I Trapjaw, which I already reviewed, so you can go check out that video if you want on my channel, which I thought came out really cool. Yeah, I always liked Mer-Man in this form, going back to Filmation days as a kid. Of course, we had the Vintage Aspire one, which Origins did put out, and of course I'll bring those two and compare them later and see what armor parts, things we can switch out. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to finally get a Filmation-inspired Mer-Man in hand in the vintage-inspired aesthetics, Origins-inspired aesthetics 40 years later. I never thought I would, you know. It came out pretty cool, I think, for the most part. Looks, you know, mostly cartoon accurate, which it's supposed to, but it seems like the color's a little off to me. You know, I think the cartoon's a little darker. It is like I want to say a bluish green color, but I noticed this trend with a lot of these cartoon or Filmation figures. Maybe it has something to do with license rights or something, or the animation rights rather, so they have to change the colors around. I don't know. Besides that, it's cool getting Mer-Man in hand. Alright, so moving right along, checking out the art on the back of the package. Awesome art as always, like all the Origins figures comes with this point, and even a cartoon collection as well. So you can see that a lot of these, if you're not familiar, all of these cartoon figures are kind of marketed with some type of item that goes back to an episode. So this, as seen on City Beneath the Sea, which is, yeah, an episode in the animation. We have Mer-Man here holding the Pearl of Power, which now this figure you can see comes with. Yeah, in that episode, there was kind of miscommunication between the surface people and the fish people of Aquatica, I think it was called. And Mer-Man was kind of using this to control him and lied about something with the shipping, trading kind of things they had going on. They were blaming the surface people were blaming the fish people, whatnot. But anyway, it's kind of where that arc goes back to. But I don't remember. It seems like so Mer-Man has this energy kind of kelp wrapping up He-Man, Battle Cat, Man at Arms, which I don't remember that in the episode. I know he used it against him, but anyway, it's kind of where all that stuff goes back to. And dropping down the left-hand side, here's a quick look at Mer-Man's accessories and action features. So yeah, Mer-Man, he includes the Pearl of Power, which you can see him holding up in this image. And if you drop down, it just says he twists into powerful battle positions. That's just his articulation of the waist. And he does come with a trident, doesn't mention that, but you can see that in the image. And then moving over here is a quick look at the cross-sell with all 4 figures as part of the Waiver Series 2 of the cartoon collection. Okay, so before we check out Mer-Man, Mer-Man comes with a new comic called Pearl's Power. Now, both Mer-Man and Stratos comes with this new comic. I do have Stratos here in hand. I'll get to a review as soon as I can. To where the first 2 figures, which was Teal and Trapjaw, as far as the Series 2 of this cartoon collection, came with their own comic. So to kind of do that, I guess, market both of these figures. And of course, he has the Pearl of Power there, so there's the cover. Alright, so I'll just, yeah, flip. You can check out the art. I'll bring it up close. You want to try to read it. People are into that. Yeah, it sort of ties in somewhat of the original Filmation, going back to Aquatic and all that stuff, but in the Pearl of Power. But it didn't have, I don't remember having Stratos in the episode and things like that. Let's take a look at everything there. Yeah, there's Stratos and Avion people. Mer-Man, flip to the next page. Alright, and there's Aquatica, but it's like, yes, it kind of looks something like the Filmation. Yeah, Mer-Man and Stratos fighting. That did not happen in that episode. Even as a trident there, it's pretty cool. Energy blast going on. Zoar and the Sorceress. I love the art in these too. All right. This. Aquatica and the people, and there's some type of queen. And yeah, in the episode, I think it's a queen. Is it a king? I think a queen. The episode a queen, but she looked totally different. She looked more normal. Didn't look like a fish person. All right, that's the end. And here's a quick look at cartoon Mer-Man, all accessories out of package. Yeah, I really like the overall design. Look at the figure. Again, the color's a little off. Now, this Pearl of Power, can't imagine how many times where I just rolled off the desk I'm filming and got away from me. It's just, yeah, kind of a odd accessory. I don't know how he's going to hold it in hand, but it's cool to give it to you. And now, taking a closer look at Mer-Man's head sculpt and articulation. Yeah, I think really well done going back to the animation. But again, trying to tweak it within the Origins aesthetics, as I like to say with these figures. As I already said a couple times, the color is very light in his figure to where the animation, I just checked on like YouTube real quick. It's a darker blue. So color is, yeah, really light. Side that, eyes are pretty cool. Got them outer rings in there. Now, this eye looks like it's a little bit in too much or something. I don't know if it's just the way it's painted or something in my light. It's not terrible, but that one looks good. But I think it might be a little QC issue in my figure. Side out, we can see the webbed ears Merman has. I always liked this going back to a kid instead of the stinkworm Merman head we got. I mean, that's nostalgic going back to the vintage, but yeah, I like this better. He had he has a sculpted open mouth, teeth in there. You know, you can see the inside it black, but well, the teeth are painted, which is pretty cool. As far as the articulation with this head, we can look all the way right, left, go down about that far and back. All right, spin them around. There's the back. Even has detail back here in the ears, in the back part of the head. So yeah, good head sculpt. I like what they did with it. So moving down to his chest and butt area. So of course he comes with his iconic Mer-Man bone armor, or fish armor we'll call it. Yeah, really bright yellow. As Mer-Man was always known for. Has the webbed shoulder kind of guards up here, which is all part of the armor. They're soft. Okay, they can kind of move up and down. Yeah, the abs kind of cutting it, sculpted outwards as far as the main part of the armor itself. Straps, obviously we can see the neck going down. Now, the belt is also a part of that, so he kind of has his own belt there. If you flip him around, so now the armor is just like a V-cross. It looks like to remove it, okay, so you can see the peg in there. All right, so it's going to pop apart like that. And then it looks like the armor can come off the head, but we're going to remove the head. And then with the head removed, it's a typical Origin-style ball peg. Going to pull the armor right off the front. And then it looks like we got to pull the waist apart. And then with the waist apart, the armor's going to come right off. And now here's a closer look at the armor off the body. You see how it snaps together and just how flexible it is in the overall design. And now jumping back to Mer-Man with the head and waist back together. Of course, here's an overall look at the body and butt design with the armor off. So yeah, if you're not familiar, I mean, they kind of changed the sculpt and design a little bit from the regular vintage-inspired Origins, at least what the cartoon collection has. So they're a little bit different, a little bit taller. That's the overall design. So you can spin at the waist now. I'm going to leave the armor off at the moment for the articulation because it doesn't hinder anything. So moving over to the arms, as I said, they have a little bit different sculpting in the arms. And as far as the articulation, all right, we'll start with the right arm. So I can go all the way up, down, forward, back, bend all the way out with the elbow about that far, or straight, excuse me, and then all the way up about that far. Can put his hand up to the face. Moving down, he has now gloves here, or like an outer, like a lower glove end, but I don't know. Looks like it's all part of sculpt, but painted. Yeah, they don't come off. See that? Because there's a little bit slop on both hands. So yeah, this is just part of the arm aesthetics. Paint, as I said. This cartoon Mer-Man comes with, so he has a weapon gripping hand on the right side. It spins, it goes in and out. We know it can come out. So I'm going to pull the hand out for a second. And with the hand off, here's a quick look at that peg outside the arm. So it's just a typical Origin style peg. And the arm comes out as well if you're not familiar for customizers. Alright, so putting the hand and arm back on. So yeah, the peg inside the arm is a regular Origins peg. We already know the pegs are, you know, regular Origins pegs as far as the hands. Going to the left side's all the same. But, yeah, same sculpted glove hands I already mentioned. But he comes with an open hand that can spin, go in and out in a hinge joint. We know it doesn't come out. So moving down, there's a closer look at the aesthetics if you're not familiar. Right, that's what he looks like from the back. We know he spins at the waist. I already showed he comes apart at the waist. Moving down, kind of has a Origin style belt loincloth, but a little more simplified, going back to the animation. Moving down to the legs, now these cartoon figures also have different sculpting in the legs, once again, if you're not familiar. As far as the articulation with this figure, so he can go all the way out with a split, which is pretty good. He can kick about that far forward. Can't go back about that far. Can bend all the way up at the knee. Can spin at the knee. Let's see. Other legs are all the same. Can spin at the boot, and these boots can come off. They're just normal Origin style pegs, so you can put whatever kind of boot you want on them. I'm just going to leave it on for now because I like the style with this Mer-Man. I think it's how he should look. And then he has some three-toed, like creature feet, Mer-Man feet, web feet kind of thing. And that foot can go up and down and kind of rock side to side. So, moving on to cartoon Mer-Man's accessories. So, of course, we know he comes with the Pearl of Power, and it's pretty much it. Looks like a big, yeah, pearl. Pretty heavy. It's sort of a translucent white color, but, you know, because of the thickness, like you could pass light through it. And it has some like glitter effects kind of casted on the inside. Looks, I don't know if it's on the outside or inside. Kind of looks like the inside a little bit to me, maybe on the outside too. And then of course it comes with that trident that they show in the back of the package, which is always a cool accessory for Merman. You think all Merman figures will come with something like this, so you do get that. And it's yeah, mine's kind of warped. It's solid plastic, but yeah, it's warped the package here. But for most parts, I like the color it's casted in and the design up front of the main trident fork itself. So bringing in Merman once again, of course I put the armor back on. It's going to put the pearl in his left hand with that open hands. That's pretty much how it's supposed to hold it. Now, it does hold okay, even moving back and forth, but this thing is, like I said, it's so easy to lose and roll over the place. If I were to keep this in his hand on my shelf, I'd put a piece of sticky tape or something just to be safe, but for the most part, the hand's going to hold that. Now I'll just put the trident in the right hand, because that's the only hand that can grip. And now there's a look what Merman set up with the Pearl of Power in the left hand, because obviously it's the one grip it, and the trident in the right. And that's about it as far as setup and Merman's accessories. Alright, so moving on with some comparisons and mixing and matching of parts. So of course we have our new cartoon Merman against our vintage inspired or first release Origins Merman. So that's those two together. Now, yeah, I mean, look, we know they're both Merman figures, but look how different they are. I mean, not only color, but just obviously designs, right? From the heads and the armor and all that good stuff. So yeah, just going back to vintage nostalgia. It's just the Merman we got as kids in figure form. Of course, Origins just redid the same thing with a little better sculpt and articulation. And this was the figure we're getting now that was always in a cartoon or certain comics. And we got this as a kid, and we were like, why didn't he look like this? And how come he don't look like the cartoon? And why does this guy blah, 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 blah? You know? So now the ball pegs were all the same, but yeah, the biggest issue is just the colors. So putting this head on that figure and that head on that figure doesn't make no sense. Colors are just way off. It's not something I would do. We know the hands, the pegs and the hands are the same, so if you want to give him yellow hands, you could do that, but we know these glove ends don't come off. They're painted on, so here we go. What's the point of that? Same thing with the boots. But the only thing I will try is let's switch some armor pieces around and weapons, see what that looks like. So here's a look at our vintage-inspired Merman with the cartoon armor on and that trident in hand. So you want to take a look at that. Alright, so the next thing I wanted to do with this vintage-inspired Merman with the cartoon armor on is put the cartoon boots on. The legs, why not? They're yellow, and I did put the hands on as well, even though we can't use the gloves because they're painted on. And of course, we change out the arms, but they don't match the color. So I have the trident in this hand, and of course, because we have the open hand, we can also use the sword on this side, or you can turn right side up and use that crystal thing. But that's a cool looking setup. And, you know, so going back to, yeah, the Southern Merman I got them apart right now. I mean, you could use these boots, but, yeah, they're green. Kind of looks off. It could be green boots. Side that, his parts, once again, the side that we can't use the larger end, you know, gloves are painted on the arms, but we can use the hands in yellow. Look really cool in this Merman with the armor in this whole overall setup. And for fun or curiosity, I just drew the cartoon Merman head on the vintage-inspired body with the armor on, so you want to see what that looks like again. The colors are so off, but just to show you the fits and what it would look like, I don't know, you want to paint it or get in some custom work. And once again, jumping back to the cartoon Merman body, so of course I have the vintage-inspired Origins Merman armor on that body. I did throw his bone sword in the left hand, because with this sword, with the guard, yeah, I can hold it in hands that are open. And I put the trident back in the right hand, so you want to check out that setup with this figure and armor. Alright, so moving forward for next comparison, I brought in the MOTU Origins Lord of Power Merman. I think it was part of like Wave 9 or 10 or something like that. Once again, against our cartoon Merman, I just left the armor off because we're just going to switch the parts around, whatever look like, know what the arm looks like on the body. So that's those two together. Once again, so the Lord of Power Merman has like his, yeah, see the gloves are painted on, has these fin ends, which would have been cool, but it's just, this is part of the forearm sculpt, but yeah, this is painted yellow hands, so he already has yellow hands. Has some unique boots, but again, yes and no. Has his own foot, but these two are sculpted and painted up to here, and then to remove this actual boot piece, you're getting the green part of the body, so it ain't gonna work, you know, trying to mix boots to match him anyway. Side that, yeah, and totally, the colors are totally off, obviously. So let's try the armor ends on these two figures, see what that looks like. And now, with the cartoon Merman once again, here's a look at the Lord of Power armor on the body and the belt as well. And, of course, I threw the sword this time in the right hand. And, yeah, it fits pretty good, so you want to take a look at that setup. Works really well with this figure. And now jumping back to the Origins Lord of Power Merman body with that head. And here's the cartoon armor on the figure, obviously. And the trident, yeah, something's, I don't know if it's just wrong with my particular figure's hand or it's too wide. It doesn't fit. Look at it, it doesn't even hold it. But if you can, it might vary hand to hand, maybe just my hand. Sort of look like, but you want to check that out as far as how the armor would fit on that figure. For the next comparison, I brought in the Master Universe Revelation 2.0 Merman from the Revelation show before the time travel sequence, and he was wounded and lost the armor and stuff like that. Against our cartoon Merman, yeah, again, colors are totally different. The ball peg should be the same as far as the heads. Yeah, I'll switch the heads out just for fun real quick. I don't know what, again, it doesn't make sense to me because the colors are off. But let's see what we can do with these two, at least between the two different armors and, yeah, the heads. And so here's a quick look with the Revelation body, of course, with the cartoon head on top. Yeah, it does fit, articulates well. Again, just, yeah, because of the color, it throws it off. But it's MOTU, you can mix things up. For some reason, I want to use that head and mix colors around. But the problem is the armor is not going to work because you have to be able to break the waist in half to get this around the waist, the belt part, as you can see, and snap together. A side that might fit. I mean, you can always make a little cut back here to wrap it around. If you want to customize it, throw this over the head and lock it, that could work. But for the most part, without modifying it, yeah, it's not going to, see that? We'll go around the body, okay, but yeah, it's not going to work. Can't get that belt around. And jumping back to the cartoon body, so I just threw the regular head back on, tried it in hand. Let's look at that Revelation 2.0 Merman armor on the body, and it works pretty good. Did have to force the head down because it's tight up in the shoulder neck area. You can, let me see, as far as the articulation, you kind of can go left to right, but you can't really go down and, back because you can see how it hinders the ears, the arm in the back. It does work, but it doesn't work as far as the articulation. And here's a look with that Revelation head on a cartoon body, obviously. I mean, it's kept the armor off. I just wanted to show what the overall head would look like on this. Again, you want to customize, you like this head on Origin's body, you want to paint it down the road or something like that. Again, it is really hindered, though. It can go left to right, but it can only go forward about that far. That's it. It gets stuck. It can look back. And yeah, it's good as that head will work on this body. So the next thing I wanted to bring in is a Classics Merman. This was the alternative Merman. It came as part of the Classics 2-pack in the early days of the Classics. This was their variant, obviously, with the light blue color skin. Now, they did have a green one, which I haven't carded. Again, there's no point comparing it because no good here. But this one came with the alternative head going back to the Filmation or comic books, sort of like what this one's doing, but more complex, going back to Classics. Now, we can try, the heads usually don't work back and forth. I don't think they do, but I'll check it out in a second. But now, again, we know this armor ain't going to work on a Classics figure. And again, I don't know how many people would buy this. Take the armor, try on a Classics if they had it. Maybe if you're a hardcore customizer. But I want to see what the Classics armor looks like on the cartoon Merman body. So, going back to the cartoon Merman once again. So, yeah, here's a Classics armor on that body. Yeah, it fits, but the head, because of the webbed ears, the fish fin ears, yeah, so he gets hindered, gets stuck. Now, it does go down. You mess around with this stuff, but the ears are bent in here. It would kind of look like that, but you can't really articulate it much, go back and forth. But just because of the design and armor, again, the ears on his figure. But if you want to see what Classics armor looks like on the cartoon Merman, there you go. And removing the head off the cartoon Merman, keeping the Classics armor on at the moment. Here's the Classics alternative Merman head. Now, the peg hole is smaller in, the Origins style peg on the cartoon one. It's larger. Now, usually, that's how it works between Origins and Classics. These are usually real tight. You can force them on the peg, but the head, vice versa, they're too loose. You'd have to heat this up to put it on. We kind of go down like that. I'm not going to mess around with it, but I got to say, this head, yeah, the colors are still way off because this has its own unique blue, but it kind of looks cool in a way. If you can get that all the way down, even though the colors are different, that's a cool looking head on that body with the armor if you want to make it work. Alright, so messing around, I did push that head down on the cartoon body peg, and it works really good. I put the armor back on the body, and I think that looks a lot better with the setup, where the Classics armor just seems to hinder a lot of stuff. Tried it in hand. It does articulate really well, and it doesn't look bad, even though the colors are off. You kind of make it work. But now you see there's a big gap back here with this alternative Classics head. Now, bringing in the Classics body, you can see they had a piece to make that up. So they use a standard Classics buck, retool buck, like they do with all Master Universe figures, easy tooling money. But they had to make it up with this thing, and it's glued to the body. So I can't even remove this, try to slip it over the neck. And again, it wouldn't match the color. Side that though, you don't mind that little gap, or you move the head back, and then jump back to the Classics body. So see what I mean? The typical Origin style socket is always wider on a Classics ball peg, where vice versa, as I already showed, it's always tighter and you can push it down and make it work. So, yeah, it looks kind of weird in the body. Again, the color don't match. Too cartoony. But this ugly neck piece, even when you put the armor on, kind of, let me try that, see what that looks like. Okay, and I threw the armor back on, obviously. But yeah, this head doesn't. The ears, this armor gets in the way of everything. If you can get it go down all the way, it kind of looks something like that. It wouldn't be able to articulate. It just doesn't, it just sits there. You want a cartoon head if you had a Classics body. But just showing all the combinations, what can be done, what can't be done. And for one last comparison, while I do have them on the shelf, this is the Super 7 Club Grayskull Mer-Man against our cartoon Mer-Man, part of the Origins line. So, for people saying they want a Mer-Man, looks like they jump right out of cartoon, that was the whole idea of this Club Grayskull line. So, with its sculpt going back to the cartoon. But I gotta say, this Mer-Man doesn't look bad compared to this. I mean, there's, yeah, the sculpting's a lot better, but this looks pretty good aside the color's off. But even a Super 7 one, too. Now, it is darker, but going back to that cartoon, certain images, it seems like Mer-Man's a little darker to me. Or maybe that's right. It's hard to tell under my light. This is definitely darker. Would have been cool if this skin was more of that color, but the head sculpts and this one does look more serious. That one don't look bad, but and how about the armor? Yeah, he has a whole different armor. Again, it's not easy to take off these figures, so I'm not even going to try. And this one's not going to work because you can't split the waists. But you can kind of see, yeah, even the glove. I like this brighter yellow color on this figure instead of this tannish color they did with the Super 7 Mer-Man. But that's those two together. I don't know if the heads, again, because the color's off, I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know if the heads are going to work. Let me see if I can get this off this ball peg. I don't know, see what we can do with it. So messing around with the Super 7 Mer-Man, yeah, it looks like a different cut in the neck. I can't even get this off the neck peg. I've broken a couple of these figures trying to take them off with heat, without it. You got to be really careful. They have really poor pegs. Super 7, they made some cool MOTU, but they had a lot of QC issues. I'm not going to bother with it. And again, I don't know what the point of it is. Colors don't match. So I see if we could change the heads around. But at this point, I just wanted to bring in a couple different sculpts and just show you the difference. So I'm really happy with the way this come out as far as a cartoon-inspired Mer-Man for the Origins line or their overall aesthetics. Okay, and here's a quick comparison, little lineup with all the cartoon villains out now as part of that Cartoon Origins line. We have Skeletor, Beastman, Trapjaw, and now Mer-Man. And that's pretty much my review for the cartoon Mer-Man. Now, they also did announce, as far as the cartoon collection, I think we have Evelyn coming, Clawful, and I think Spikor. So those three were confirmed, which, great figures. I'd really love to see them in the cartoon series, so they are coming to Origins. Side that, I'm really happy to have Mer-Man in hand. He's always a favorite of mine. I was just real excited when I heard, he was announced, and now finally having him here and doing a review on him, just like Trapjaw too. Trapjaw's another favorite. He came out really good. I think they're all really neat, but those two are my favorite. Mine has a little issue in the eye from what I see, but it's not terrible. It's just one of those things. I like the overall armor. As I already said, the design. Cool, it comes with the trident and that this little crystal thing, but I have no use for this. It's kind of annoying. It falls and rolls all over the place. It's one of those things I'll never use, but they do give it to you. Yeah, but I do like the head sculpt. The color's okay. It works for me. I wish it was a little darker going back to the, animation. But again, I just think it's a license issue with Filmation or something. Why the colors are a little off in all the figures and what Origins is trying to do. I think. Who knows? Maybe that's what Mattel decided to do, make something different. Side that, I think it came out really awesome. So I appreciate everybody watching. And until next time, take care.